Liz Hecht, who's the moderator of the panel, and she is a colleague, a long-term colleague here at the Waisman Center in the University Center for Excellence on Developmental Disabilities, which is a major component of the Waisman Center. She is the coordinator of the Waisman Resources Center, and that is part of a statewide network providing information to families who have children with developmental disabilities or professionals or anyone who needs more information. She's an advocate, a very effective advocate and public policy analyst and a parent of a son with developmental disabilities. And it's just, we're very grateful that you are willing to moderate the panel today, Liz. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to see all of you here today. It is my pleasure to introduce our panel today. Our panelists represent a lifespan of experience and they'll be sharing stories and their wisdom with you about their journey along the way. You do have bios of the panelists in your program, but just very briefly, let's see, I'm going to, both Josh and Danielle, maybe just, Josh is the parent of a 2-year-old, two daughters actually, one who has Down syndrome, who's 2, and Danielle is the mother of a 7-year-old with Down syndrome. So they'll be able to give us the perspective from families of young children. And then Barb Wagner is mother to a 23-year-old, 3 daughters, Chelsea, who has Down syndrome. And then we also get to hear a perspective from Dave Chelavode, who is a grandfather to a 6-year-old who has Down syndrome, and Doris Krieger, who's mother to a 48-year-old with Down syndrome. And then we're also very, very pleased to have Heather Hoosman with us, who is a self-advocate and young woman herself who can talk about her experience with Down syndrome. So please join me in welcoming the panel today. Panelists have prepared comments to 2 questions, which I'll read out loud. We'll take 1 question at a time, and each panelist will spend about 3 minutes sharing their stories with you. Time permitting, we'll take the questions that you submitted this morning, and then again, if we have time, we will also open it up and take questions from the audience. With that, the first question, actually, let's start just by quickly going around and introducing yourself. Barb, if you would start, and if you can take the microphone and then pass it on, that would be wonderful.
I'm Barb Wagner.
Josh Ochterberg. Dave Chelavode.
Danielle Conley.
Heather Hoosman.
I'm Doris Krieger.
Great, thank you. So the first question, we have prepared comments related to. Panelists were asked to share with us a few highlights about their and their child's experience that they think would be helpful to families and those who support them. And we can just go in order. So, Barb, if you want to start.
Okay. Actually, I have 3 minutes, and I think I thought about this for 3 minutes because I was so interested in what everyone was saying as far as our speakers that that was just much more captivating to me. But if I'm to share with you highlights about my daughter Chelsea's experience that I think would be helpful, I guess I can't separate her out of the context of our whole family because she's just a part of our family like I was a part of my family, and like I think family members are just that way in all of their families. But I think what I can share as a highlight is that Chelsea herself has been a highlight in our family. Uniquely different, all of my daughters are highlights, but Chelsea brought to our family's world gifts that we never expected, challenges too, but things like learning to appreciate what it's like to tie a shoe or open a box or things like that, little things, learning to be patient, learning to realize that I can't feel what someone else feels, I can't see what someone else sees, kind of empathy, the gift of things like that. The whole journey has been a wonderful thing, and when I think about it in relation to all these people that I've gotten to know, I look forward to the future, and I think that fondly when I hear about young children. And now I'm in the situation of watching Chelsea work and she lives with me at home, but she's pretty independent, and she's kind of like, in my family, the most organized and the most sensible one of all. So those are my highlights.
All right. Where do I start with Cadence? You know what? We didn't know what we were going to get into when she arrived. We didn't know what it was going to take. And I'm not going to say that it hasn't come without its challenges, but we wouldn't trade Cadence for anything in the world. I mean, she's had her difficulties. She was born with a heart defect. She had that repaired at 6 months of age. She was out of the hospital, though, in 6 days. So when you think that they're going to take more care than the typical child, they'll surprise you. She had a feeding tube from when she was born. Her heart defect gave her a real bad gag reflex, and we ended up having to put that in every week by ourselves, which was no easy task. Nobody enjoyed that, so she ended up having a G tube put in. So we're very well versed in the feeding difficulties. She right now likes to play with her food. She doesn't really eat it. It's more of a toy. Go figure, a 2-year-old likes to throw food. She's very, very bright. She's very bright. We're teaching her sign language. You know, it's a little bit more difficult for her to pick up on the verbal communication, but she knows probably close to 24 signs. I mean, more than I would ever think of knowing at 28 years old. My 2-year-old daughter knows more. She gives us new challenges every day, but you welcome them with open arms. And when you see the small accomplishments, they mean that much more. And when our newest daughter showed up, I was worried about how the two of them were going to be able to interact with each other, if Cadence would know what Sydney was, you know, if she would comprehend. She loves Sydney. She sits there and gives her pacifiers and bottles, and then she takes them away. But and then she gives it to him again. And she likes to point out, she's 9-9, she's 9-9. And it's so much fun. I wouldn't trade Cadence or our experiences with Cadence for anything in the world. But she's a ball of fire. She doesn't stop. She does not stop. But it's been nothing but good.